welcome back to Rebooked, the show where we talk about all the men and women who get together in the middle of the square circle. And what they do, they fight, they tell stories, they slap meat. You already know what the deal is. I'm GB, you got Matt, you got Jake. We're back at it again. Fellas, a pleasure to be back to yap more about wrestling. What a wild weekend that was, huh? That was,
oh my God.
That was one for the ages. Of course, we'll talk about what happened in AEW All Out. But before we begin, I actually wanted to give some love to something because I love pro wrestling, as I know all you guys do, and the weird and the funny. And I was scrolling through Threads, you know, the hot new social media platform. It does still exist, and it's awesome. Okay, it's way better than freaking Twitter.
Oh, that's not a low bar.
Yeah, quite a low bar. But I saw this post. And it said, just discovered that Evil Uno, who they talked about, has a promotion called Mystery Wrestling, and they had a Falls Count Somewhere match. Falls Count Somewhere. The idea is that there's only one place in the arena where you can pin your opponent, but no one knows where it is.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
I thought that was like by far one of the most clever concepts. So I decided to go and check them out, and yeah, man, it's awesome. They have a YouTube channel.
Oh yeah,
they have like all sorts of shit for it. It's such a great promotion. Let me see if I can actually pull it up here real fast. Yeah, so here it is on Patreon, Mystery Wrestling. If you ever want to check it out, they're also on YouTube. They've just pumped out a few of these. I'm a big fan of Evil Uno. Met him briefly when I worked at AEW, and he was just such a nice guy. So it's just. I mean, I don't know. I just think stuff like that to me is pro wrestling. It's like when people were like mad about Austin Theory's selling of the stunner on SmackDown this past week from Kevin Owens.
I loved it.
I'm like, I love that stuff, man. Like the weird is what makes wrestling fun. So
they loved it when Stone Cold did it, but when Kevin did it, you know
that's
what I mean?
True. That's true. I know, right? It's so mean. But here's the thing. What would be your match type? What would be your random match type? I always think of like, you know, when they did Judy Bagwell on a pole match, you know what I mean? Like I think those were phenomenal. She was on a crane, right? Now that I recall, she was on a crane. So Jake, do you have a match type? Because I know your head's always spinning with ideas. We can come back to it too later on. We don't have to linger on it. It could just come back to you like a whirlwind.
I think I might have one.
Okay, what you got?
I think. All right. I think I would want to create. I want you. I think what I would do is I would recreate an epic battle in history. Right.
Okay.
You like, you want something that evokes danger and excitement.
Yeah.
And thrill. Right. And what I think I would do is what would I call it? I would call it the Okinawa Onslaught. Okay.
What? Okay.
That's the match. An Okinawa Onslaught. We're going to recreate the final battle in Karate Kid 2.
Okay.
Where we're going to have a little island and a moat, and no one can get to them.
Oh, I like the idea of a moat. Yeah.
Yeah, the moat. Instead of a cage, it's a moat. And it's just a fight to the death.
I love it.
And that's what we do. We recreate.
I support this.
That battle between Daniel LaRusso and Chosen.
So
Karate Kid
I actually thought of one, a trampoline match. The whole point is you got the way you win.
I
is
had
you
all
gotta,
kinds of trampoline.
I was gonna say that sounds like my high school years.
You have to win the match by winning off of a trampoline. So no matter, like, basically you got to do either an elbow drop, but it's got to be off of the trampoline. You got to do a frog splash or a shooting star press, or even a double axe handle.
But what if I brought somebody, like I had them like on my shoulders on the trampoline and I jumped off with an attitude adjustment.
If you can get a good bounce off the trampoline, I'd support it.
Dude, I started my wrestling career on a trampoline. I can do it.
I think that would be freaking awesome. Yeah. So
but
go
then
ahead.
That leaves you open for interference for double bounces. That could ruin.
I mean, that's problematic. That's problematic.
Overshoot the opponent. That's right.
Yeah.
Matt, what is have you ever been in a weird match before? Like a weird match type?
I mean, I've been in the typical like WWE, like what was it, Miracle on 34th Street fight kind of BS where you're in costumes and throwing pies at each other.
Okay.
But as far as like actual like strange stipulations, no. I was gonna say I have one that I could invented, but like I also work for TNA, the home of weird.
That's true, man.
The reverse battle royal is all you have to look at. The idea of everybody fighting on the outside of the ring to get into the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like only like 8 guys qualify. And then you got to throw them like, I even forget. You throw them back out until there's 2. And then like you have like a regular match. And like the King of the Mountain match is fun, but it's so convoluted.
Yeah.
There's the penalty box, which is like a shark cage. And if you get pinned, you get put in there, but you have to climb a ladder to get the belt. But you have to spend 90 seconds in the penalty box if you get pinned. So then you get that, and then you get out, and then you can pull somebody off the ladder just in time. But if I were going to invent one, and maybe they've done something like this, it would basically be, I want to say a Mortal Kombat like gauntlet.
Okay.
Call it Pagoda Pandemonium.
Pagoda Pandemonium.
But
okay.
The idea of like this would you have to be.
Dare
like
I say an all valley tournament, like in Crushing One?
I guess, but it'd be like all in a row. Like you'd have to go to I guess you'd save it for your major TV companies because you'd have to go to their corporate headquarters and floor by floor. You have to beat
like
one guy at a
That'd be
time.
sick. That'd
like
be
that
sick.
movie, The Raid. That would be
And then you get to the top, and it's the CEO or the world champ or whoever it is, and like they've
the
got
Raid Rumble.
That'd be
I
sick.
like that.
You know, when they did
Get to the roof.
when they did that Money in the Bank
So
match
much fun.
at the
Yes.
at
that
the
was a
Titan
blast.
Tower, I thought that was like one of the most creative ways to approach it,
Like-
especially during the pandemic.
Yes, I
but it
agree.
was so freaking inventive. I wish they would do it again. I kind of miss WWE's cinematic wrestling matches. You know, like Undertaker
they have a new
versus AJ.
headquarters.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do. I didn't
What
know
about what
They
about
moved.
account?
Yeah, they're
what
selling Titan Towers, man.
that. No shot.
It's
Wow.
been listed. Yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What about a count in match? You can only be in the ring for 10 seconds
Before you have to get out.
before you have to get out.
It's like the ring is lava.
And pinfalls have to happen in the ring, but you only get to be in there for 10 seconds.
True, but on that same point, a floor is lava match.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're like,
well, that's the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
No,
pretty
but
much,
you
but a
put items
regular
in the
match.
outside.
Yeah,
You put
And
items
you
in the
still have to-
outside that you can jump on.
yeah, and
know?
you still have to pin somebody or whatever. It's like a regular match, but the rules are you can't.
So
touch
we
the
could
floor.
combine that with mine because I already have a moat.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
just wants to moat.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
freaking love it. All
We
right.
got a moat already.
Let us know in the comments down below what would be your wacky wrestling match type, and also bonus points for who you would book to be in that matchup. I would love to see some creative ideas for that. But all right, well, let's go ahead and move on because you know what we do in this podcast. We talk about the storylines in wrestling. We don't talk about the drama. We talk about the stories. And boy, oh boy, there were a lot of stories coming out of Friday Night SmackDown. Heck, even TNA as well. I just want to give a quick shout out because Mustafa Ali, I saw, is back in action again.
Nope.
So no,
Nope.
no. I could have sworn I saw that. Or maybe I'm tripping.
No.
Wait a
Moose
minute.
is in action.
Well, okay, hold on a second. On that topic real fast. Sorry, completely no selling the first part. I saw a silhouette in NXT of an individual who looked very much like Moose. And I don't know if I'm tripping, but
I have no idea.
no, I'm not. I'm just saying,
yeah.
oh my goodness, if the society needs to see Moose, okay? We need more Moose in the world. The man is absolutely incredible. I'm stoked if like Moose shows up in NXT. That would be super sick.
Bro,
But
I can't even keep track anymore. Every week, it's like we're going to do wild lines for the episodes. Like, oh, great. Now we have to cover so-and-so showed up because we never even know what some of these deals are that are in place. So like,
Yeah.
it's news to us too.
Yeah, I mean, I was genuinely blown away by that. And also, just another quick aside, Jordan Grace putting out an open challenge for the TNA Knockouts Championship on NXT television next week, too. Oh, actually, I think that's tonight, as a matter of fact, while we record this.
Yeah, she's there. Yep, she's there tonight.
Yeah,
yep.
So I'm excited. We'll talk about that next week for sure. We'll keep an eyes on it. I actually thought that was the case, but I guess I was about Mustafa, but I guess I was sorely mistaken. But what's been going on TNA now that we have? Might as well dive into that.
TNA, we're heading to our next little TNA Plus special. It's a little bit of on our way to Bound for Glory, which is going to be Victory Road, which is actually this coming weekend.
Ooh.
So we've got speaking of Moose, we got Moose and Nick Nemeth. It's a little bit of that rematch from Rebellion. Running that one back, and then we're gonna have the other big match is gonna be Josh Alexander and Joe Hendry, the bitter, angry side of the Walking Weapon. You know, the wrestling machine versus the wrestling meme are about to go 1-on-1. They've actually had some fun back and forth segments. I believe it's this. I always keep track because I always lose track when we tape after I'm gone from the weekend, but I believe it's this week. We get a Josh Alexander song from Mr. Joe Hendry on TNA this week. So keep your eyes out for that. Yeah, those are like the two big clashes on my radar, as well as Zach Wentz defending his new X Division championship against former champion Speedball Mike Bailey.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, so that's what's going on with Mike Bailey. All right, I misread that one for sure, but here's the card there. You can see, well, not the card, but main event for Victory Road going on September 13th. I mean, look, I'll be honest. I think Nick Nemeth continues his run with the championship, but I don't mind seeing some back and forth exchange. We haven't had back and forth, title swaps. Remember when they were doing that back in the day with like Randy and Cena? And it's like, man, we haven't had that shit in a minute.
Or Charlotte and anyone.
Yeah, well,
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you are? You are?
Yeah, that is a rare thing that you could maybe do for a specific story. I just felt like a lot of the time we ever saw it was like to shake up or to pop a rating or to like just to swerve people. I'm like, that should never be the reason.
Yeah.
If there's like, it needs to be specifically booked for that to happen, like for a specific reason that will pay off or play out later.
No, it makes sense.
I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay not seeing a whole lot of that.
I hear, you know what, brother? I got you. It's all good. I get it. You got what you like. Now, that being said, though, we do have a lot to dive into because, folks, this weekend was by far one of the craziest pay-per-views that I've ever watched from a major wrestling promotion for a variety of reasons. But first things first, yes, we're going to talk about Hangman versus Swerve. But before we do that, let's actually dive into the rest of the show because there were a lot of great moments across the board in the pay-per-view. Some that had no business being as good as it was, like, Statlander and Willow, which was a freaking wild hardcore match that followed a Will Ospreay Pac match that was also insane. Did you guys get a chance to check out All Out? I don't know if you had an opportunity to.
No, I saw most of it. I haven't seen, I don't think every single, but I saw the main event. I saw this match.
Yeah.
I saw the title match. Like 75, 80% of it.
Well, this match was insane. These two guys just went out there and put on a clinic. Not a lot of story going into it. Well, let me rephrase that. Not a lot of like recent story, but there is a ton of history, which I thought was pretty cool. And they were leaning into it a lot throughout the match. Matt, because like Will Ospreay and Pac, like they have a history together. They only wrestled one time previous to this. And it was basically like Pac was the model upon which so many wrestlers were basing their styles off of. So it kind of just makes sense that, Will Ospreay and Pac would finally clash. What'd you make of this matchup and even a little bit of the story going into it, if you have thoughts on that?
I do kind of agree with the OGS. There's not a ton of deep rooted meat on this one, but this was a classic case of I mean, they at least had the groundwork laid with Pac had his match for the title kind of set months ago or whatever, right? So like it wasn't like he just showed up a week ago and was like, I'm challenging. Like we had the paperwork was in.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. So like we knew he would strike at some point. So that was all well and good. So the reasoning, the justification for the match was there, which I love to have justification.
Same.
And as long as we have that, dude, you have two of the most freak athletes in the professional wrestling world. Like Will is getting all of his flowers over the last, even before officially signing with AEW, the last year and a half, he's just gone on a tear between New Japan, his short stint with TNA, and then of course now all of his AEW stuff. He's just been on a roll. But Pac is one of those guys, man, never really got his due. And I think anywhere he's always impressed. I think people like him wherever he goes, but like that guy is one of the, on top of just from behind the curtain, easiest guys to work with. Having been lucky enough to wrestle him several times.
I was going to ask, yeah, because you guys did. You had a feud in NXT, was it?
We didn't have a feud, but we had a few matches on TV, and then like I worked him at house shows a bunch, and like he's one of those guys that has a similar, at least to the stories I would hear about like Eddie Guerrero. It was like, dude, you didn't even know how the stuff in the ring was happening. It was just like even moves I was doing. It was like, did I touch him? He just like put himself there, and all of a sudden we're going and we're flying, and it's smooth and it's crisp, but it looks good. It doesn't look fake and crap. He's so good. So you mix these two together. I hope Pac gets a chance to really get his flowers in the next year or so.
I hope so, man.
A nice singles title reign again out of him would be, a nice significant one. So yeah, this was just a Pro Wrestling 101, or I mean, not 101. They went way beyond 101. But
yeah, this was more like 105.
But just in terms of like, guys, they had on paper, they had a match set, so good justification, and then they just tore it up from a athletic, physical standpoint. It was unreal.
Yeah. I like that AEW, can give you a bunch of different styles. Like all at the same time in the same kind of show. Because this show is very much like a hardcore pay-per-view. Like if you would have told me this was AEW's version of like Extreme Rules or whatever, even though I hated that pay-per-view, I still, because it never was Extreme. This actually would have been a moniker to that would have been like fine to give this event. But Jake, I know you didn't get a chance to watch it, but I know you saw some of the highlights here.
Well, I saw some of the matches, yeah.
Now, the one that I know you wanted to talk about is, unless you have anything to add for Will and Pac, but if not, we're fine to talk about our World Heavyweight Championship match. Because coming into this, I really didn't think that it was going to be that. Like, I knew it was going to be a good match, but I did not anticipate Jack Perry putting on such a masterclass with Bryanson.
Well, I think that was a big reason for this match.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Bryan's the kind of guy who wants to put people over on the way out, right? And you can do that in victory as much as you can in defeat. And Jack Perry came out of this looking really good.
Yeah, really good.
I mean, I think this is probably far and away his best match that he's had, which is saying a lot because I thought his match at All In was probably the best match that he had had.
Yeah.
And this one was fantastic.
Yeah, it really was.
He did so well. The one, and I did send this in our group chat. There was one moment that I found it very hard to get over.
Which was a weird one.
Why the fuck is the referee telling Jack Perry when to kick out? He's like pushing his foot. Did you see the clip that I sent?
Oh no, I didn't.
There's a clip of there's a 2 count, and on the and like just after the 2, the ref comes up and pushes Perry's foot.
And to be fair,
as if
like,
to
to
say
your point,
to kick out.
That like the ref often will verbally. Like if you can see that, like, oh shoot, I don't know if he's hearing my count. Like, hey, come on, Jack, make sure you kick out, bud. Like I've gotten stuff like that all the time.
Like, what is that? what is that?
Yeah, that's weird.
It's very strange.
And that took me out of it so much.
That's interesting
for a little bit, but like that just was so.
It's an unfortunate flub or decision on the ref's part. I don't know why.
Now,
I don't know if he was told to do that or what.
It didn't kill the match. It didn't kill the match for me, but it was just like a thing of like, what the fuck just happened?
That was weird. Yeah.
With no mention of it, nothing.
I wonder if it was maybe Perry wasn't hearing it. Maybe. But then in that case, like Danielson could have just let it go.
But surely,
right?
but yeah, Danielson probably could have just done something too without the ref needing. I don't know. I don't know. It was very odd.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole point of this felt like, not building up Danielson, but it felt like it was building up Jack Perry, and I think it did that because that's been one of the biggest issues so far. Is it feeling like I mean, the story has been. Well, he has the title that he has because of the Elite, right?
Yeah.
And has he proven himself in the ring yet? And does he really deserve the title, or is it just a nepotism thing? I'm talking within storyline.
Yeah.
I think he proved the doubters wrong in this match. I mean, it was really well done, and I want to give him his flowers. The part to me that's real interesting, obviously, is what happened after the match. And one of the big things that I've been trying to figure out is where we were going with Danielson's reign.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll tell you, the addition of the tag match between the Bucks and Claudio and Yuta felt like an odd addition to me a little bit for this event, but it totally makes sense now. The match was the match only occurred as a vehicle for what happened at the end of the heavyweight championship match, because it was all, I thought, a brilliant swerve, right? No pun intended, I guess. But it was done. It was put on the card just so there was a reason for BCC to come out and stop the Bucks from helping Perry and to involve them in the match and to keep them out there for what happened after. That I thought was really well done. I thought that was brilliant. I really liked that because knowing what we know now, of course, BCC has turned on Bryan. Like which was crazy. It was a question of which is crazy. But like the way they executed that, I thought was really well done. Because, you don't just want like, oh, well, he hasn't really done much with them recently. And they just all of a sudden come out there. That would have felt fishy. But the fact that they were coming out after having just lost to the Bucks, and it seemed like, oh, well, Bryan's our buddy and you're trying to screw him over and you just beat us. So now we're coming out. All that I just love when there's justification.
Yeah.
In wrestling storytelling. And I thought they did a great job with that, with having them out there.
Yeah.
Now, I guess the question is, do we like what went down? Which
was, of course, the faded plastic bag. Okay, there was something actually. I want to see if I can find it real fast. But someone had mentioned how funny it is that he was. Oh, I found it right here. This one's actually freaking hilarious, man. So also on Threads, but someone was like, that says, I hate plastic. We're murdering him.
Good God.
With plastic. So I want to give a shout out to the Wrestle Beefy on Threads for this one, because this thing was utterly hilarious. Like the planet's champion advocating against the use of plastic and leather and all these things with his wooden championship belt, only to get suffocated.
Well, now I just want them to get like what I want Mox to do now is like make a noose with those soda rings, those plastic
the plastic rings. Oh, that would be torture, man. That'll be
and
torture.
Choke him out with that.
Yeah, be like, come over here, Lou, wrap him up and stuff. Like, hey, I can hear Excalibur now. He's killing them with the bad parts of the environment. Oh no. would just be wild.
But yeah,
I liked
it.
I liked it. I liked it because it's about, well, first things first. I liked it because that was the tamest thing that we saw after that. And I think that actually was kind of a precursor to whatever the fuck was going to go down in the main event. But also,
it just was so odd. It just struck me as so odd. Like,
yeah.
I mean, of all the things that Mox could have done, he was like, what is he doing? Is he going to the trainers? He's like, can I get a bag of ice without the ice? Like, you just want a bag? Yeah. Like, and he's just going around like, it just is so weirdly premeditated to have a plastic bag and like, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to suffocate him with a plastic bag. I don't know. It was so.
But you know what? It was different. And I will commend him for uniqueness. In, you know, like, I think.
I just want there to be a reason beyond I saw it in a movie. Or I saw it in probably like a gangster movie. I've seen that execution go down. Because in this environment, to Jake's point, there's it is different and it does stand out. But like, there's a million things you could do.
But so does putting bananas on Chinese food. That doesn't mean that
okay. I don't know if I'd compare it in that regard. But no,
I'm just saying.
I get it. I agree. I think that, you know, what they wanted to, it was clear that they wanted to illustrate brutality, right?
And it's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable, you know, to watch that. So I get that. I hope there's, in addition to finding out what the justification was from their end as characters and as to why they turned their back on Bryan and everything, I'm very curious to hear that. Like I said, I want it more than.
Well, why no blood?
That looked brutal in a movie.
Yeah, but like,
I want it to be more than that.
Why no blood? Like they're the two of them are not averse to getting color in a match.
That's true.
Yeah. Why?
And not blooding him up or something.
But did you need blood to tell this story though? I don't know.
Did you need a bag to tell this story?
That's the
thing, right? Like you could have taken it in. Like there are a variety of directions you could have gone, right? Like I think that the whole point was to illustrate brutality, and I really do hope. I genuinely really do hope that it is because he is like a vegan and because he's like some environmental dude that Mox was like, what's the worst way that I can fuck you up?
Here's what I would have done. if we were going to use a plastic bag, right? If that was going to be a thing we were going to do, we're going to beat the shit out of him a little bit first. And we're going to get Bryan. First of all, we're not using a clear plastic bag because I want to slip Bryan a blood capsule for him to put in his mouth.
Yeah.
We put the bag over his head for a little bit. Then we take the bag off. He's bleeding out of his mouth.
Jake, I thought you were a filmmaker, man. No, what you said, he's not opposed to getting color. You beat him up. Bryan gigs a little bit.
I'm saying if we had to use a plastic bag.
I'm not done.
Okay.
You beat him up. Mm-hmm. You get Bryan a little bit of color. Mm-hmm. And then you take the clear plastic bag
and
put it over his head, and now there's blood like staining the bag, and he's writhing in it, and it's this crimson bag as he's writhing around. It's a visual piece of nastiness that that's actually one of my favorite.
I think people would be more angry about that.
Probably, but that would be brutal.
Yeah, it would be.
But they're angry now, so it's kind of like, well,
might as well just milked it for all it was worth. You know what I'm saying in that instance.
I mean,
that is legitimately it's one of my actually favorite. It was a mob hit in a movie where they plastic bagged the guy and then they broke his nose.
Oh yeah,
and he just starts filling the bag, so he's choking on his own blood as he dies.
And so,
that is just
now. One of the child plays, Chucky puts a bag over someone's head in the car of a dude's in the driver's seat in a car, and he bags his head and kills him that way.
Yeah,
scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
You guys have seen a lot more use of this than I have. So today I learned. No, but where does this go then? Because there was a cool story point that someone had made. When Bryan won the title, Mox wasn't out there. All the BCC guys were out there, right? There was also the final promo from William Regal on his way out, who is talking about how there is no weakness. There is no such thing as weakness in this, right? And actually, there was something that I saw on Reddit, and I think I have it right here. I can go ahead and show it to y'all. So basically, oh no, don't want to do that. Let me see if I can full screen it. All right. So yeah. So
well, let's shout out this user.
Yeah. First things first. Skybound on Squared Circle. It was a really cool
like post. The games company.
I guess so.
Skybound?
I guess so. Right. So it says on the 7th of December 2022, William Regal gave his final promo in AEW after turning on Jon Moxley at Full Gear. Regal gave an explanation for his actions, and the explanation was, hopefully, and we all, and I know he will, because Jon Moxley is a very, very calculated man. He'll understand this. The reason I did what I did and to lead by example was to teach you the final thing I could ever teach you. Always stay one step ahead and always make sure you keep your eyes in the back of your head. I'm Blackpool Combat Club until the day I die, and it's been emotional and so on and so forth, right? And then he says, now they're saying that because Bryan is talking about retiring and all this stuff, that it's like illustrating weakness. And the Blackpool Combat Club was not about weakness. Mox doesn't tolerate weakness. Yuta crying for Bryan while they were strangling him, which was a really cool moment, by the way.
Yeah, I
think all
like
this
that.
is going to lead to Yuta having a moment. I really hope so. But it tells me that there's more to this than meets the eye, obviously, but also there could be some bigger storyline things here. What do you think, Jay?
Here's the only issue I have with that theory is, can you call someone weak who is the world heavyweight champion?
That's fair. That's fair. But
yes,
that's the only thing.
But he's still talking about retirement. You can't call him that.
Sure, you can call him that. Is it valid?
No, it's like, it's not the shrine. Yeah, like, I think you're both right, because I think it's one of those things. You can't. I mean, he's on top, right? So yeah, you can't really make the argument that, like, man, he's on his last legs. He's beaten some of the best in the world. You know, he beat Swerve, who's been considered the best probably in 2024 in AEW kind of thing. So, but I think there's a thread there that you could pull with the idea of, like, you're telling everyone that you are Old Yeller.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna beat you to the trigger, and we're gonna put you down ourselves. We're not waiting for the big old send off. No, we don't got time for that. We're here to fuck shit up. And if you're on your little farewell tour, as good as you are, that's not what we're about. And I could see that. I don't know how strong it is, but there is a thread you can pull.
But I mean, I could also see, well, you thought you could do this without us, and now you're definitely not doing it with us.
And also, what I do appreciate, as much as I like swerves, sometimes, so, like, you could have, in theory, waited to have Moxley. He'd have been off TV for a little bit before he came back recently. He could have come back here and just beat up. That would have been a huge shock.
Mm-hmm.
But they did lay a little bit of that mystery groundwork with that promo and the appearances with Marina. What is this? It's not your company anymore. What is he alluding to? They're beating everybody up. So that's obviously going to tie in here. So I like that they threw that brick out there before All Out. Yeah. And then they hit you with this exclamation point here. And now I imagine the night this airs on Wednesday, we're going to hopefully maybe get an explanation or an allusion to a point where we're going to get an explanation in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it was great.
One thing that I really loved about that was that the pain of the pain of the turn on Bryan overrode the pain of his body from the uppercut.
That was a weird moment. I don't know if I loved it or hated it, because it was like,
I was kind of the same way, but like, the more I think on it, I'm kind of like, the pain of the betrayal
to that moment, though.
Yeah, the pain of betrayal was more than the physical pain that he got from it.
The crowd. One thing I will say, though, that is the benefit of this, is that we're gonna get Bryan versus Claudia, which is gonna be amazing. We're gonna get Bryan versus Mox again, which is also gonna be amazing. Probably going to get Bryan versus Pac as well, which, good God, that could be exciting. Also, what the hell happens to the Trios Championships now, right? Because clearly Yuta chose to stay with Bryan when all that was going on and did not leave with his Trios champion partners in Pac and Claudio Castagnoli.
This could be such a good emotional character arc for Yuta.
Yeah.
I mean, could we see those guys try to manipulate him and be like, time for you to toughen up, or like time to you know pass the final test, be the tough SOB you claim to be? Are you with the? It's a very classic film, you know, television kind of tale of that. Yeah. Or are you gonna cry and moan and run back to your mentor kind of thing? And what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do?
Yeah.
But that could be a really good little arc for Yuta to start standing out. I'm excited to see that.
They've proven that they could do this by building these guys up. The Daniel Garcia story is perfect. And, you know, we could dive into that one too, but there's not a lot of time to. But honestly, that was another really fantastic matchup on the card, Garcia versus MJF. That was, even though Garcia lost, and I wasn't like too crazy about Garcia losing, I like the fact that at the end of it, it was, okay, he lost, but he still does a power driver on MJF from the top rope.
He lost the battle, but not the war.
Exactly. And that is certainly going to lead to a further extension of the storyline, but it's going to allow Daniel Garcia to kind of flex himself a little bit within the rest of the division. So looking forward to seeing how that pans out. But let's talk about the thing that everyone was talking about coming out of that main event. Now, look, here's the deal. We said that Swerve and Hangman were probably going to attempt to kill each other. And everyone knew that Swerve and Hangman were going to attempt to kill each other, because that's the story that has been told. And I don't care what anyone says, AEW has stories. They have stories. Like, are they as well produced as WWE's? I think in the past they weren't. But now, especially with those packages at All Out and All In, like, you can tell they're putting in a ton of effort into that, you know, production and really like honing in on like making everything feel epic and stuff. I mean, I had never ended a match with my jaw dropped outside of like WrestleMania 40 when Cody won. And I was like, you know, a jaw dropped out of excitement. This one was shock, disbelief. But the story that these two guys told in the freaking ring was wild. Jake, how do you feel about it? Your thoughts?
I'm conflicted on it.
Okay. Pray tell.
I don't know. Like
well, okay, how about this? Do you feel like they effectively told the story of this feud with this match?
Oh, see, that's the thing, is that's where I was about to go. The story element, the story that they told in the ring after the match, I thought was fantastic. I can't do headshots anymore. I just can't. And I know that's probably seems like a awfully righteous position to take from a guy who loves the sport of football, but you don't have to do that. Like, if you're using, like, the difference between that and football is I'd say 70% of the time it is within your control to hit somebody right.
Yeah.
It is 100% in your control to not hit someone in the fucking head with a chair.
That's true.
And I get that it's the chair was gimmick, so it's not a big deal. Man, we've seen.
I hope that's true.
I hope that's true.
It definitely was. I mean, that thing, you could see the chair wobbling when Hangman picked it up. You could see it kind of like was a little shaky. And then I actually thought, I will agree with you in that the chair shot was shocking. The way that they did it, though, the way that they presented it in that moment in time, I do got to give credit to production on that.
They cut wide, so my guess is that they cut wide because it was gimmicked and they didn't want people to see that.
Yeah.
Which I get.
Yeah.
But like
But I actually thought that added to it. weirdly enough. Because you just heard the shot.
Because it's kind of but it's a classic. I mean, ironically, we were talking before we started recording about horror movies, and that's one of the things that I think is great about horror movies is the less you see, the more terrifying it is.
Yeah.
Because your imagination, I mean, will always be scarier than the truth.
Yeah.
Most of the time. So I get why they did that. And honestly, I have been trying to think. The biggest discussion I've been having in my head after all of this is the place of extreme violence in storytelling and wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, first and foremost, my concern is always the safety of the performers.
Yeah.
Always. Buddy, look, when two people are standing on the top of the turnbuckle, I mean, my beehole could turn a piece of coal into a diamond. I'm so nervous every time there's two people. There's two people because I'm like a slip and two people are fucked.
That's true.
That's
what makes this always so great, but also so scary at the same time.
And that's always my first thing is the safety of the performer. And I guess like Matt, this is actually something I've kind of wanted to ask you about because obviously, like, you know, I mean, look right there, we have staples to the back. We had a power bomb onto a cinder block. We had almost two,
like an inverted vertebraker or whatever that was on that too. But I will say
we had
credit
the
to them.
syringe in the mouth, all that.
Yeah,
Matt, how is that pitched? Like, does the other wrestler, like, does your opponent come to you and be like, I want to do something stupid in this match?
I mean,
and you're like, how
you'd
does
probably
that
come to that together? Like, knowing these guys, they've worked together before. They've done pretty hardcore stuff before. They probably both came with ideas. Like, they were both willing to do some wild stuff. I don't think there's any case of just like, I'm going to do this to you. What? Like, no, it's like, what's some, it's very collaborative. I would say you don't get to this point and you're just like, sorry, he's going to do that. He's going to stab you with this, like, without everybody being on that page. So,
yeah, I'm sure it's never like I'm coming to you and being like, hey, brother, I want to stab you in the face with a syringe. I'd imagine it's the other way of, dude, what if you stab me in the face with a syringe? It's like,
absolutely.
okay, I'm comfortable doing that. Sure, we can figure that out, you know.
Yeah.
But that's just always wild to me when you want to do something like just fucking crazy of like going and pitching that to another person.
Yeah.
Like, because I imagine they have to be comfortable doing that as well. Like, it's not just I'm comfortable taking this pain and punishment. No, the other guys, I'm sure, has to say, I feel comfortable enough that I can do this in a way where it won't permanently harm you. And that's a lot of trust for sure. It shows a lot of trust. But like, yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I've been struggling with is what's the place of extreme violence like that within storytelling and wrestling. And I think that like, I still struggle with it, but all I'll say is it's got to be a garnish, not an ingredient. Like, that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, it can't, because this is not over. Like, it's just not over. I do not believe it's over.
Yeah.
I feel like it will be over when it is for the title.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't think this story's ever going to end. Right?
No, it's going to be a forever feud.
I think this is
Rock and Stone Cold, or you know, Undertaker, Kane, or you know, or whatever,
or in Cena. You know, like they did that one for a while. Like, even I would probably say at this point, probably Roman and Cody, because I'm sure like they're going to be squaring off multiple times.
Sure.
You know,
Punk and his own decision making. I mean, like, there's a lot of.
That's the biggest battle of them all.
There's a lot of feuds.
Decision making seems to win every time.
I just like, I don't know. Like, this clearly is a situation of this match type, this match style is not going to be for everybody. And honestly, matches don't always have to be for everybody.
True.
I just don't want to see, like, this become commonplace.
I actually don't think that's going to be the case.
I'm fine with it. I know, but AEW, I mean, we've seen where it's like, you know, a fucking Wednesday night, and it's like there's like 9 matches where the rules are thrown out of the fucking window, and it just feels like every match becomes a hardcore match or whatever.
I mean, I feel like that hasn't happened in a while, though. I think because I know that they picked up some new writers, and they're doing some. They're being a bit more cognizant about their storylines.
But I don't think, and I may be wrong, I don't think that's on the writers.
No, for sure. Well, I mean, like, I think, I'm sure back then, but it does feel like now they have more of a plan with a lot of these things than it was back in the day, right?
Sure.
That's how it comes across to me. Like, for example,
not in matches.
What do you mean?
When it bell to bell, a writer has nothing to do with it.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
but like, as far as like why they're doing this, right? Like,
sure,
why they get to this point. I can't foresee them using this kind of match for, like, the only other feud that I think could get to this point is MJF Daniel Garcia right now. That's the only other feud that can get to that point. And even then, that's asking for a lot, considering that this has been a year-long build
of BCC.
I don't really see that. I mean, and then again, though, Bryan is a sicko.
He choked him out with a bat.
Bryan is a sicko, so
I mean, like,
he probably
you're
wants
not
to
going to sit down and have a cup of coffee and a calm conversation about that.
Yeah,
you're going to go throw him into a wood chipper. Like, that's the only place that goes. And Mox would do that.
Mox would do it. I believe it.
Yeah.
I will say, though, like, this has been my. I mean, it goes, I'm sure everyone feels the same way, but this has been like my favorite story that's ever been told in AEW. I think, like, they've done.
I agree with that. And I will say this too. I think it's worked because it's Swerve and Hangman. I don't know that anyone else could have really pulled it off quite like this.
Yeah.
And it's just been an absolute.
But I do want to talk about the end. I want to talk about the last moment.
Yes, and that was the most interesting part to me.
Yeah, so in the final moment, and we actually, I do have a funny clip to show. I was going to save it for the Rebooked 24/7 champion, but you know what? This one was way better because, you know, we enjoy good camera work in professional wrestling. We're nerds for that kind of stuff. And this one in particular was absolutely perfect because at the end of it, Hangman gives his guttural scream and he yells, and we're going to talk about that. But the camera angle was so utterly perfect. And it was like the new DraftKings champion of the world. And you can see the crown right over his head. And I don't know why. I saw that online. And
the crown is yours.
The crown is yours.
They're not sponsoring
Use
this
code Combine.
But this moment, though, jokes aside, this moment when Hangman turns around, there's a lot of speculation on what it actually was, right? Because Hangman turns around after all the death and destruction and everything that he does, and then he turns and he looks and he makes his way toward the ring, and then you're just like, oh, is he gonna go back for seconds? This is fucked. He just destroyed him.
People shrieked.
They shrieked when that happened. It was really cool. But then you looked at his face and you could see this look of like pain. And then he just started doing the guttural yelling and screaming at the end. Matt, I don't know if you how you felt about that moment, but I thought that was super cool. And it shows like a deeper layer to Hangman's character and probably now one of my favorite characters in all of professional wrestling, just off of that alone. What did you make of that final moment?
I don't know. That's the thing. And like, and that feels like it could be one of those moments that was, all right, here's how I'm going to finish this whole thing. This is going to be the outshot, right? I'd buy that if they kind of worked through that and like, all right, outshot, you're going to have this moment where you go back and you're just, whatever, your brain is exploding with whether it's orgasmic joy from finally sticking it to the evil Swerve Strickland who tortured you forever and all this stuff, and maybe finally some comeuppance in your own twisted mind. Or that could easily be just a very real wrestler being like, my energy is just, my adrenaline is off the hook. I don't know what to do. Do I raise my hands and do that one? Do I do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. It could have just been everything just bursting out. That shit happens too.
What?
No one has said this in a while, but I have thoughts and opinions.
Let's go. Wait a minute. Do I need a graphic? What? What is it? What is your thought?
That was the last of Hangman's sanity.
I've seen that. I've seen that said online quite a bit. Yeah.
Because to me, what it was, his face was, when he turned around, to me, that was Hangman waking up, where he saw, oh my God, what did I just do? What did I just do to another human? And him going back to the ring was going to check on Swerve.
That's what I thought too. That's what I thought too.
And he stopped because the cat was out of the bag. He stopped because he's realized the man that he's become, and he's reached a point of no return. And that is him. That yell to me was this I don't get, like you said, it was this guttural, primal yell of, what did I do? Is this who I am now? There's no going back.
Yeah.
Like, because also one thing that was interesting too, I can't remember if this was on the show or not, or if I saw a camera angle from a fan recorded. When he started to leave and he got to the top of the stage, he started to leave through the face tunnel and he stopped.
Yeah.
Not this again.
You keep hating on it, man, but it's little things, dude.
But it also isn't, because as we talked about, it is an interesting look into his mindset, because he stopped, and for the first time he turned around and he left out of the heel tunnel.
Yeah. And
that to me is Hangman
embracing the reality of what he has become.
Yes, it's him. I almost feel like it's like him, like he felt, I don't know, he felt the loss of his own humanity. That's what the yell was, of like there's no, I don't know. All I keep thinking of is there's no going back. There is no going back to the man that I was. All that's left is whatever this is. And I just, like, it's who I am now.
All right.
And I really liked that. I thought it was a great little bit of character work by Hangman.
Matt,
I really liked it.
You I know you hate the heel face tunnel, but how do you feel though about this being like the like a real rebranding, reawakening of Hangman's character?
I hope so. I love that idea of it. I think that's very, very cool. I just hate heel face tunnel. That idea. I just hate it. But no, literally everything else you've said, I love that idea of it. Just it's finally expelled out of him or whatever like that. But I don't know. I there's more to this.
Yeah.
Now, my only issue would be if we're gonna accept the bullshit babyface heel tunnels, if we're gonna accept that. The idea that like he expelled, again, he's always been this, in his mind, a righteous soldier, right?
Yeah.
Against evil Swerve Strickland.
Yeah.
And so the idea, like, I hate the idea that the guy, like I said, even if it's all his sanity is gone, he's expelled it all, and he accepts, and he goes through the heel tunnel because he accepts he's a bad guy. No, nobody thinks they're a bad guy. So I hate that kind of conclusion. Nobody, no bad guy, no evil being is ever a bad guy. They're not a bad guy. You don't accept it and go,
except for the Joker.
I'm just evil now. Even the Joker's not
no,
doesn't
the
think he's
Joker
a bad
knows
guy.
He's a bad guy.
Doesn't know he's a bad guy. He's willing to do whatever, but I don't think he's like, I am evil. like just because I want to be Eve.
Yeah,
I think it's more. I think it's also like, I think to a degree, it's, I know that this is how people are going to see me now, and I'm okay with it. Like I could see it being something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where it's like, you know what, this is not, Swerve asked for it. All you fans asked for it. This is what you wanted. This is who I am now. It's as much your fault.
I love that.
It's as much your fault as it is mine.
Yeah.
And if this is how the world is going to see me, then I guess this is who I am.
And we'll see what happens on Dynamite on Wednesday. But if they come out with an angle like that, and then it pushes him forward into, like, you know, because now that he has defeated the former world heavyweight champion, there's a lot of arguments that can be made for him to kind of like push forward. I'm curious to see if we see this, you know, vicious version of Hangman push forward for some gold as well. Maybe, you know, we know that Ospreay is going to face off against Ricochet. And we know that there's going to be now this new program between Mox and Bryan, more than likely. We'll see where Hangman fits, but I have a feeling this is only really just the start of this new version of Hangman's journey rather than a conclusion of you know, the story of Swerve. This is just, obviously it's pro wrestling, so it's just going to be the next chapter of something else, but it's off. But let's go ahead from something a little bit, you know, real gritty and quite violent, something a tad more tamer, as we look forward to WWE's Bad Blood, which ironically enough, I don't expect there to be blood in the way that there was at All Out, but I do think there should be one person at least showing some color at this one.
Yeah,
more than likely Punk and Drew, more than likely. But that actually sets up a few things here. So we know a few matches that are already locked in for Bad Blood. First one that was confirmed on Monday Night Raw, which will be CM Punk versus Drew in a Hell in a Cell, which now makes that question from that guy feel like a plant. So I'm, you know, we all kind of felt like this was the possibility and where things would end up. Not shocked that it ends up at Bad Blood with the Hell in a Cell. We also got Rhea Ripley, who's going to be taking on Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship. Then Sami Zayn keeps coming out and challenging Gunther for a World Heavyweight Championship spot. This time around, Bret Hart was there to hype him up, and felt as if there was some movement there, but nothing crazy yet. I have a feeling, though, we will be getting that matchup at Bad Blood. If not, they'll probably save that for Survivor Series, which they also promoted on Monday Night Raw. And then Jey Uso won the #1 contender spot to face off against Braun Breaker, excuse me. So there was a lot of stuff that happened this week. We also got some Bloodline action. Unfortunately, DIY Street Profits got put in a main event where they were just sacrificial lambs to Jacob Fatu's prowess. But overall, though, it feels like this Bad Blood pay-per-view is coming across quite nicely here. Anything that sticks out on the card for you, Matt, right now? Like, you know, with the CM Punk Drew Part 3 or Rhea and Liv? Because I think Rhea and Liv could maybe steal the show yet again, but I'm, you know, curious to know what your thoughts on that.
Yep. There's a lot of, I think there's going to be a lot of matches kind of up and down the card that'll be fine. It's a 2-match card. This is about Hell in a Cell, which I imagine and hope would be the main event. And I think Rhea and Liv is still probably the hottest storyline, probably, as far as
and I think
certainly in the women.
Cody is facing Solo, right? I think that's concerned.
Well, isn't that next week in a cage?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
it's next week in a cage. I think it's on this Friday, isn't it?
It might be. Yeah, they said that last week.
I thought it was this Friday.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
because it's for the premiere of SmackDown on USA. That's what it is.
That's right.
So they could easily shenanigans and go round 2 at Bad Blood, but I think it'll be another straight up match, and it just doesn't have as much juice as these other. I was hoping Liv and Rhea would have some kind of maybe Dominic related stipulation or something tied to it. I don't know if they're gonna try to stretch it out and get there. I'm waiting for my goddamn shark cage. And the fact that it's taking this long is starting to give me a little bit of
making you worried a little bit
anxious. Yeah. I want my Dominic in a shark cage, and if Rhea wins, she gets 5 minutes alone in a broom closet with him, and not in a sexy way.
That actually would be utterly hilarious, man.
Which is also a little sexy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, a little.
I guess it just depends.
I mean, yeah, that, but to me, yeah, 2-match card. Those are, I think, are going to deliver. I think everything, some of the stuff around it is going to be good. I like the bubbling of the U.S. title situation over on SmackDown.
I do too.
It's the three great. That's a great spot for all of them to show up and show out show what they can do with Carmelo and Andrade.
I just remembered. I had some fantasy booking. I had some freaking fantasy booking because something dawned on me. Now, here's the thing, folks. All right, here's the thing. As much as I enjoy this iteration of WWE and where we are right now, there's still some tropes that will truly never die. Like Latinos all teaming up together. And I believe that what's going to happen out of this is that we're going to learn that Andrade is the leader of the Legado de Fantasmas. Because in a promo that they did recently, and I thought it was silly because I was like, wait, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but then it all kind of sort of makes sense. So in a promo, Santos Escobar has the rest of the crew. They're doing these vignettes where like they're talking and they're strategizing, because they're trying to pass them off as like, mafioso type organization, the Legado de Fantasmas, right? Which is also a badass name, by the way. And I could say it a million times over and I enjoy it every single time.
It's no Pure Fusion collective.
Oh, and quick aside on that, I was watching Raw this morning. My wife saw the team name and she was like, that is the stupidest team name I've ever heard in my life. And she doesn't even watch. She barely watches. Yeah. But anyway, so the reason why is Santos Escobar said someone picked up a win recently and then he like lost a U.S. title opportunity or he lost in the U.S. championship match against LA Knight or something to that effect. And he was like, oh, but the plan is all coming together. And you're like, what's the plan? What could possibly be the plan? But then you find out that Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, this whole series, this best of 5 series that they've been doing, is to lead to a U.S. title opportunity. Now that LA Knight has done that. And I think Andrade LA Knight is very, very compelling, not just for the matches, but if they add this twist of Andrade being a part of the Legado de Fantasmas or maybe being the leader of it, but like from the shadows. Does could that be a direction that we go in here with this? Or is this just going to be, or do they just want to do Andrade Carmelo straight up, just have LA Knight have a good feud, a good few matches, kind of like what they were doing with Cody, like no real big stories, just good matches. Or am I reading too much into this?
No, I think that's a cool idea. I don't know if they're going to go that route. I think we're just getting to what'll be a badass triple threat.
Without a doubt.
So and I think that's all in my mind. That's all that's kind of on the horizon right now. But I love that as a evolvement of where especially Andrade goes in general. And I think this could be a little part of it. But I always want more. Yeah, more undertones, more stories written there other than
my
just
only criticism of it, if I give myself a criticism, would just be that I like Santos Escobar as like the leader of it. But I still think it's like too soon for him to be the leader of a faction. He hasn't really established himself. It's kind of like Karrion Kross with the Final Testament. Like, you haven't really established yourself as like a threat. Like I can't really take you seriously as a team, but I can take Andrade seriously. Because he's already gone out there week in and week out and put on great matches, and he needs a character, and this is a good way to do it. Albeit if Jake a little obvious given that they're all Hispanics, and we all know WWE likes to put all them Hispanics together and have them feud over and over again.
Yeah. No, I like that twist as well. I think that would be interesting because then you can kind of have like, I don't know, almost like a mini Cody versus the Bloodline type thing if Legado de Fantasmas gets involved.
Yeah.
And if they get involved in this match and then now it's LA Knight has to deal with this group.
Yeah.
That could be an interesting way to take that. But I do also at the same time kind of like, I mean, that is supposed to be kind of a workhorse title. So I don't know.
You're back and forth.
I'm mixed a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where I want that to go.
I am excited for it to see, because it's LA Knight. Also, I love how everyone's complimenting his new vest. He's got like a new vest now, and everyone's like, "Oh, the new vest is great." I'm like, I didn't notice, but I thought that's
a new vest every week.
Yes, I thought so too.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's the way I always interpret it.
But he has been electric with that belt. He really is. Like, I would be disappointed if LA Knight's career does not at least have one World Heavyweight Championship or one WWE Championship run in it in the future. I think he's more than shown to be a main player and can carry a lot of really good stories, right? Because truth be told, he was the story with him and Logan Paul, right? Like he carried that whole thing with just his promos, the way they positioned him to always be hunting after it and everything like that. So yeah, makes me really stoked. But there is another character that is maybe seeing a little bit of a rejuvenation, and that is Finn Balor, a.k.a. FKA, Prince Devitt. Seems like the Prince might be taking some more front and center responsibilities in the Judgment Day. And I actually had this thought, and I'm curious what you guys think about this. Could the Judgment Day become WWE's version of the Bullet Club? Something that just lasts forever? Doesn't
that's
end.
Kind of what I was. That's honestly what I was thinking.
Yeah, right.
That's kind of what I've been thinking lately myself. Yeah,
because
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either. So we now know that Damian Priest is going to face off against Finn Balor at Bad Blood. Perfect match for that pay-per-view. Finn Balor is the reason why Damian Priest lost the World Heavyweight Championship, and we're starting to see Finn just get more involved in these stories. Jake, do you think that this is it? Do you think that this is where we start to see the rebuild of Finn Balor to get back to where he was when he lost the Universal Championship all those years ago to injury and has not been able to get back there ever since? Is this the start of his journey?
I think so, yeah. I mean, he cut a great promo on Monday. I thought he cut a fantastic promo. It was passionate, like, just he cut it directly to camera. He didn't give a shit about the crowd and their what chants. And I just like the passion and drive came through in the promo that he cut. And yeah, I really think that this could. Now it begs the question, like, how far back are we rebooting this version of Finn Balor?
I don't think we're going back to like old Finn for sure. Right. I think he needs a character kind of evolution as well. So like, I don't think that the Demon's going to come back. But I think that, the Prince, right? Like that guy.
Yeah. I don't think the Demon's coming back either. Weirdly, because I think the Demon's kind of a face.
Yeah.
100%.
So I don't think he's coming back yet either. Would love that. Would love to see us try to rebuild that, because that was cool as shit when
that's an eventuality. I think I think that's the babyface run. That's the breakaway from the Judgment Day move. Mm-hmm. He destroys them as the Dragon Judgment Demon Day, that thing that he is. Whatever. He comes out as some big purple and black demon and whomps him. I don't know, but that could be a month from now. That could be a year from now. Because, I think they're still rolling pretty strong, surprisingly, with this Judgment Day thing. It's been hanging on.
Yeah.
And they've kept it fresh.
It has been. And I think it's been pretty sick, because we've been seeing, like these characters, like everyone's, for example, there was a promo with all the members of the Judgment Day. Everyone had a line, even Carlito at the end. He was like, cool, like that, like that's cool. And then that was like the end of it. I like this new version of the Judgment Day. And next week we are going to get Finn Balor and JD McDonough of the Judgment Day going up against Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston of the New Day, the Dawn of a New Day match. But here's the thing. We know that there's drama with Kofi and with Xavier Woods. So is this it? is this the straw that breaks the camel's back for the New Day guys? Are we finally going to see the end of it? I don't know. Because, like, surely they don't win, right? Because the whole thing is that the New Day, or Judgment Day, have not been defending their titles, right? And it's like, they're not defending the titles. They don't care. And then Kofi goes in there. He's trying to get a title shot, blah, 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 blah. Now here we are. It's happening. But what else is there to do?
And interestingly, he kind of alluded to just the opposite of what we thought he would allude to. I don't know if you remember, I think it was last week when we were talking about how we thought it would end up that, oh, well, that moment between Kofi and Gunther, that Woods would be upset that he wasn't going after the tag titles and was instead going after a singles title. But when we heard him backstage Monday, he was upset about just the opposite. I thought we were going after singles titles, but okay, cool. We'll go after the tag titles. Yeah, that's great. Let's get it. Yeah, I think it's, I don't know. I think it's like we're seeing a birth of some selfishness in Xavier Woods, which has not been what New Day has been all about for the past 8 years, probably. So I'm interested to see how we're going to salvage this storyline.
Yeah.
After the abrupt release of Odyssey Jones.
Yeah.
But I'm really hopeful for it because I trust Woods to tell a great story and do great character work. I trust Kofi to do the same. So this is one that I'm just like, I'm going to kick back and see what happens here.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know what's going to, because it just like the vibe felt, it didn't feel quite as dark this go round. And maybe that's on purpose. Maybe that was maybe that's done purposefully.
Throw you off the scent, you know? Dude, I'm not ready for that. If that were to happen, how long have New Day been together at this point?
10 years.
10 years.
Jeez Louise, man.
He said 10 years in November, I think is what he said.
That's
which
crazy.
Had to have been brought up purposefully as well.
Again, there's so many things here. I don't know what to make of it. All I know is, first things first, you're going to see a banger tag team championship matchup because, I mean, it goes without saying, like Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, they're two of the best tag team wrestlers. Like they're specialists in this. They tell good stories in the ring. But then of course Finn and JD need to win. So this, what I love is that this is a storyline that's happening, right? This Finn and Judgment Day storyline, and then this New Day storyline just is colliding with it, but then it's going to like bounce off in its own direction. But this is probably going to be a catalyst for that.
Multitasking,
and
baby.
It's good use of of character development. It's good writing. It's good storytelling. I'm really stoked. I'm really stoked. All right. So there's always more to talk about, but I don't think that we can fit any more into this episode of the show. So you know what that means, because we're getting to the end of the episode and it's time for the Rebooked 24/7 Champion of the Week. We have a few good ones. We have a few good options. I have one that I want to start off with, if you guys don't mind.
By all means.
Because this week we saw something utterly hilarious on the AEW All Out pre-show. And, you know, there's this new tag team that's on the scene that's catching everyone. They're quickly becoming the talk of the town because of their antics. And it's MXM. This is how they decided to watch the matches. You know, they started off looking at the camera, and then they turned around and they showed their chest to the camera, and then they go back, and then you see, I was just dying. This was absolutely hilarious. MXM, you guys are legends. I like AEW's tag team division right now. Lots of characters. With the Outrunners as well, like gaining so much hype. MXM being absurd. And also in WWE side, Pretty Deadly, the musical, by the way, is going to be happening this Friday on SmackDown. Right. So everyone needs to be ready for that, because that is going to absolutely pound. But I'm giving MXM and their creative way of watching wrestling my Rebooked 24/7 nomination of the week. Fellas, who do you got? Jake, you want to go first, or Matt?
Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Honestly, mine is the Wyatt Six and American Made, because I actually thought that street fight match was really good. Yes. I thought it was a lot of fun. Everybody had a chance to shine. There were great spots. There were great moments. It was absolute carnage around that ring, and I thought it was a blast. And I thought that the crowd in Calgary sucked.
Oh, they were terrible. They were terrible.
Sucked on ice. They were fucking terrible.
Bro, they barely. It was so disappointing.
They barely popped for Bret Hart. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? I mean, and they just sat there like it was a school assembly.
Yeah.
And that opening match was so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, I popped so hard when Nikki Cross did a German suplex.
Oh, that was so sick.
On Chad Gable. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was such a great match. And I'm really happy for the Wyatt Six. I'm really happy for American Made, because, like, dude, the Creed brothers took some stupid bumps too. Like, just everybody. I mean, like, that to me is how you do a street fight. Like, it was the right level of fun. And look at that. I know, yeah. I know Chad's doing a lot of the heavy lifting there, so to speak, but it still was awesome.
Yeah.
It was a really, really cool moment. To me, that's how you do a street fight. It had some silliness, a little bit of silliness.
Yeah.
Brutality. I mean, Eric Rowan ripped a part of the barricade off and was using it as a weapon.
Yeah.
Like, that was nuts. And I'm so happy for Rowan, because he also had some great moments and he's deserved it. Everyone in that match is my 24/7 champion.
Okay. All right. I like it. Matt, what about you?
Well, so for me, look, I had a hard time deciding. I wasn't sure going into this episode what I wanted, but after we talked for a little bit, and I didn't talk enough about it during the discussion because it was not really story related per se. But in the chaos, the violence, the tornado of destruction of Swerve versus Hangman, in getting into those closing moments, we talked a lot about the chair shot, but preceding the chair shot was the infamous footage and image of Hangman using a needle to pierce the cheek of Swerve, which I did have to chuckle. Again, it is totally an uncomfortable thing to watch, so I get why. But having a wife who does needlework and sideshow as a career, that's one of the easiest tricks you can do, and it's not hard or painful, like, very much. It was just funny to see it as this, like, shot through the heart kind of moment, and now I'm vulnerable. Yeah. It's like she's out there on stage going like with
wild.
needles, like. So it's actually one of the fastest places to heal on the human body too, because you've got so many cells and moisture in your cheek and everything. Anyway.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people do it. You can do the cheek or the nose and all this stuff because it'll heal within days, like quickly.
Got it. Dear Lord.
So that's what made that stunt very doable. But all the
no, Jake, stop it, Jake. Don't stab yourself with a screwdriver.
All this to say, I had to pop for the fact that, and this is one of the things I think you just had to do medically. In this blood feud where they wanted to kill each other, drop each other on cinder blocks, stab each other, crush each other with the actual cage itself. And he whips out the thing, and of course, there's the safety cap on it.
Yeah.
So here's for hypodermic. My 24/7 champion of the week is hypodermic safety, despite wanting to murder someone.
Yeah.
He should have, in theory, he should have had a dirty disease-ridden that he found on the streets of Chicago. There's no lack of them, and use that. But no, he had a clean, popped the little safety cap off of it before using it. So here's the hypodermic safety.
Bro, can you imagine Hangman just showing up to like a methadone clinic or something like that, just stealing the bag of used needles, and just that would be brutal, man. But that would be a good content.
Fun my last fun fact on that, something I used to learn in my stage combat days. That was an old thing. Sword fighters, before they dueled with an opponent, you would often drag the tip of your blade on your way to the fight through manure and the fields and dirt. So the idea is, even if you don't necessarily win that sword fight, if you can nick your opponent with a dirty, diseased,
with a shit covered,
he'll die a week later from whatever kind of disease you gave him, and then you get to have the last laugh.
That's crazy. Oh my God. All right. Well, we got some good options. Who do you guys want to go for? I
like hypodermic safety.
I like hypodermic safety. All right. Hypodermic safety. You have one. Oh, man. Well, yeah, I think that is an appropriate place to end it. But we do want to do one more thing. Jake doesn't know about this. Neither does Matt. One of us.
Oh, I did come up with 2 more match types, if that's what we're.
That actually might not be a bad one for next week. But one of us here recently got a pretty cool little achievement. Now, it's not. I know he's gonna write it off, but we do want to give a shout out to PWI's number 4 color commentator. Number 4, Matt Raywalt is your number 4. Color commentator according to PWI, but I will say you are in some excellent company there, and
I don't disagree.
Yes, very excellent. You know who's ranked number 4 in the AP coaches poll?
Who? Oh God,
Alabama.
Good Lord, somehow we got college football in here.
I had a moment for about 10 seconds. Thanks, Jake. All right, appreciate that one, buddy.
I'm just saying you're in great company.
You truly are. Hey, man, congratulations. Seriously. Scan sent this to me, and he said, don't say anything, but you got to mention it on today's episode.
No, it's very cool. I said a little something today. I was like, I don't put a lot of stock in these lists, in terms of like personal worth or anything like that, but it's from very good company to be amongst. It's true. It's weird though too, because somebody sent me that picture in like July, and I commented on it, but now it's like coming around because I don't know if the magazine like officially released, and that's why the list is coming out now or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
But no, it's super, super cool. And I hope to one day be at the top of many people's lists. I hope.
Dude, I mean, I've as a commentator who listens to your work all the time, I will definitely say that is more than likely, given, you and Tom are putting up some good work. I didn't see where Tom was ranked. Were you? I
don't know. I was trying to. Well, he's play-by-play. That would be a different category.
Yeah, no. Where you like? We gotta find
low.
Yeah, I don't know if they put out a list of.
Way,
they had
the answer is
if Tom is underneath, he'll never hear the end of it. Oh man. All right. Well, fellas, as always, thank you for your time. Much appreciated. What a blast this has been. And again, we asked you guys before, what would be your funky, weird match type? Jake, you said let's do one. If you have one to give us right now, just kind of tip people over the edge, what would it be?
A kaiju match.
Good Lord. Okay.
It's like a tables match, but with a model city. Imagine Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed fighting in a model city. The first one to throw the other into a building and destroy it is the winner.
Jake, kaiju pro wrestling is a thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a genre. They do it at Comic-Con sometimes. People cosplay as like Godzilla and Mothra and wrestle.
No, I did not know that.
Yep, kaiju.
Fine, I'll give you this other
just
match.
YouTube kaiju wrestling.
Fine, I'll give you this one. Double Dash Bash.
Okay.
It's like Mario Kart Double Dash. It's a tornado tag match, and your opponent and your teammate has to be on your back. And if your teammate is on your back, they can use weapons.
I was gonna say that
as long as your teammate is on your back, they can use.
I was gonna say it's like Stadium Stampede. Everyone's in a golf cart, and then the other person, they all have just weapons, and they're just throwing weapons at each other. I actually would really like that as well. Man, that's Jake, do yourself a favor. Watch Kaiju Pro Wrestling. Also, fun little factoid. Vanessa Guerrero, our coworker back at G4, we wanted to do that in the arena that we did, G4 arena that we did the WWE arena show on.
Yeah,
we wanted to rebuild a ring, and I was gonna like front it, and then we were gonna try and do and set
awesome.
up, and it was all in an effort so I can commentate pro wrestling, but mostly to get Kaiju Big Battle an opportunity to do some awesome stuff. But yeah, folks, that's going to do it for us here this week. We thank you so much for tuning in. Always a pleasure. Make sure you give us a subscribe on YouTube as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Interact with us on social media. Also, join us on Discord. You can find all that information down below. We got a lot of stuff going on. This weekend we have TNA Emergence, right? That's going to be taking place, Matt.
Victory Road.
Victory Road, excuse me. I'm a million pay-per-views, and they're all in my head on top of a lot of Halo. So yeah, Victory Road is happening this weekend. We'll talk about that as well next week on the show, the fallout from that event. And of course, all of the madness that's to come from Dynamite, because I'm sure this is going to be a Dynamite that you do not want to miss. And then when we're back, we'll be yapping about all that and then some. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you next time. Peace. Later.